Hello, my name is David Bond, and my project is on tourism and disaster. Tourism can be defined as the activity of traveling to a place for pleasure, or the industry of providing accommodations, information, and transportation to visitors. Disaster is a dangerous event that causes significant human and economic loss and demands a crisis response beyond the scope of any single agency or jurisdiction. Some common examples of natural disasters include hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, wildfires, floods, and tsunamis. Tourism facts. In 2014, over 97 million tourists visited Florida. In the same year, over 1 billion international tourists traveled worldwide. Tourism generates jobs such as hotels, travel agents, airline assistants, transportation systems, restaurants, and leisure activities, and also stimulates economic growth. It's estimated that 1 out of 12 jobs are tourism related, and international tourism ranks 4th in global exports, generating $1 trillion annually. Tourist destinations are vulnerable because they are often places of interest located by natural beauty, such as coastlines, mountains, rivers, lakes, which makes them greater at risk for natural disasters to occur. They're often densely concentrated areas, and people are unfamiliar with their surroundings. Sometimes a language barrier can come into effect. Natural disasters happen quickly with little time to prepare. The human behavior during a natural disaster is unpredictable. They're ideal for terrorist attacks because tourism is visible and gives terrorists media attention. And the tourism industry is fragmented but does not respond easily to disaster. So, for example, many different organizations become involved during and after a crisis, and sometimes rivalry occurs. A centralized information system may provide an infrastructure for cooperation rather than competition. Disaster management. The organization and management of resources and responsibilities for dealing with all humanitarian aspects of emergencies. This is where the 4 phases of emergency management come into play, which are mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Hurricane Katrina, 2005, is an example of a disaster crisis. It devastated Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, but in particular we're going to talk about the city of New Orleans. Local officials thought that the government would step in automatically due to the severity of the storm. The governor requested assistance, but wasn't clear on the use of her resources. So, for example, she requested that hundreds of public transportation buses be made available for public access, but she did not specify who needed to drive these vehicles or where they needed to be parked. So they ended up sitting in a parking lot, and whenever the levees breached, the buses were flooded out and they were immovable. The public perception of this was a failure. Over $100 billion in damages occurred and over 1,800 deaths. The Buffalo blizzard of 2014 was over 7 feet of snow in just 3 days. The annual snowfall for the city of Buffalo is 7 feet, so in 3 days they saw their annual snowfall. There was over 30 cases of collapsed roofs, and roads were closed. Driving bans were enforced, but a couple short days later they were lifted for semi-truck drivers so that they could get in supplies and food. The rising temperatures resulted in the snow that needed to melt, and it resulted in a bunch of flooding throughout the city. Tsunami in 2004 was created by a 9.0 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Africa. A series of waves came crashing down. They lasted anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour apart. It affected over 11 countries, but in particular Thailand, Indonesia, and India saw the worst effects. There was no sort of warning system in place due to it being a third world country, and over 275,000 deaths were recorded.